Hey guys, and welcome back to Life with Mrs. Busy Bee. So I'm finally sitting down to do this video. I've been meaning to do it for a while. Life's been kind of hectic. Go back and watch my last video. I had actually meant to record this video the night I recorded that one. But then life got ahead of me, or got a hold of me as I explained in the video. And so now I'm finally sitting down to do this video. So today I'm going to finally be talking about my postpartum journey. I would say a story, but I'm in the middle of it. So my son is 14 months old, for those of you who haven't watched my other vids. He is a November baby. I'm not sure if that matters. I'm not sure quite what all matters. He's my first, he's my only. So I'm going to start off with a disclaimer. I am not a medical professional. I have discussed all of this stuff with my doctor and my therapist. So this is what we've decided works for me, what we're doing for me. So if you think that it's something you might be struggling with, especially if you have a non-traditional version of depression, I'll get into that in a minute, feel free to talk to a doctor. Especially postpartum depression is usually caused by a hormone imbalance, and there is medication to take to help rebalance those hormones. I was saying this long before I got pregnant. It still took me until he was a year old, like 12 months, to go actually see a doctor about it, because mine was so minor, I could deal with it. So I think before we get started into my story, I'm going to start with, I took notes right before we started on just quick notes on Google. I just looked on Google what symptoms of postpartum depression, or just depression in general, because postpartum is just a version of depression. The symptoms, because honestly, it's more than just you feel depressed, you lose interest in stuff, you just don't care. It's more than that. That's what they focus on, but it's more than that. And there were several different aspects that depression can affect. It can affect your mood. It can cause you to have anxiety, apathy, general discontent, guilt, hopelessness, loss of interest, mood swings, and sadness. Sadness, loss of interest, and hopelessness are the three big ones, I'd say, for what the typical depression is, which is why it took me so long to recognize it for what it was. And there's behavioral agitation, excessive crying, irritability, restlessness, and social isolation. And then it affects your sleep, early awakening, excess sleep, insomnia, and restless sleep. So basically, it can cause you to get too much sleep or not enough. Okay, got it. Whole body, excessive hunger, fatigue, and loss of appetite. Or, I should say, or. Cognitive, lack of concentration, slowness in activity, and thoughts of suicide. Obviously, that last one is a major one. If that is something that you are dealing with, please, please, please talk to someone. There are, I know, countless hotlines. I think they even have a text hotline now for suicide crisis. There's tons of them. There's ones for specifically for your teens. So you're not alone. Life will get better. At the very least, you can talk to someone to get on medication to fix your mind. If you're gonna go and see a doctor for a broken bone, why wouldn't you go in to see a broken heart or, appendicitis or anything like that, but you won't go into the doctor to see about your brain. It's just another organ like everything else. It can fail like anything else. So, and then last but not least, weight gain or weight loss, poor appetite, and repeatedly going over thoughts. So, I'm going to go over probably my symptoms. Apathy was my big one. I didn't care. I didn't care what I did, as long as it didn't hurt me, number one. Number two, it didn't hurt my son. That I was basically looking out for me. I didn't care about anyone else. I was spending money we didn't have. Now, that sounds like I went on shopping sprees and retail therapy. I didn't. I went to lunch every day. I went out to lunch every day. It's like $7 a meal. Wasn't that bad, but when you add it up at the end of the month, that was money we didn't have. We racked up some credit card bills for when I was out on maternity leave because my husband doesn't work, and my morning sickness hit me so hard I had to drop hours at work, so I wasn't able to save money like I expected to. So I didn't have enough money for us to live when I was on maternity leave, and I was on maternity leave for 7 weeks. It wasn't that long. So, and okay, I would buy my son, I would buy stuff for my son, mostly things he needed, sometimes things that I just saw and he had to have, but I didn't care who got hurt, as long as it didn't affect me or my son, mostly me. That's the biggest thing, is I didn't have any anxiety, I didn't feel hopeless, I still loved doing all the things I normally love to do, hanging out with friends, which is mostly online now, but I have a child. So, mood swings, sadness, agitation. That was a big one for me at the start. I was very angry to start with, mostly at my husband. It was pretty much all directed at my husband. And then one day he just was like, you're angry at me 24/7. I don't understand what's going on. And it's like a switch flipped in my brain. And so I stopped being as angry because I went, oh, hey, yeah, I am angry at you a lot. I don't know why. You don't deserve it. So, excessive crying. For anyone who knows me, I am a crier. I cry over anything. So, excessive crying for me would be crying often. I don't know. It's not something that affected me. Irritability, restlessness, social isolation. Social isolation is another big one that they hit on as typical depression. I still loved hanging out with my friends. My best friend was visiting me every 2 or 3 months. We were hanging out, and I was talking with her on the phone all the time, and all this stuff. And so it was like, no, all those commercials you see of depression, I don't have any of those symptoms, but there are a lot more they don't discuss. My sleep. I'm a young mom. I don't know how much of the sleep issues were caused by my child. No, it was all caused by my child. But let me tell you, lack of sleep messes with your mind. Oh my god, does it ever though. Oh, oh yeah. My appetite wasn't really affected. Fatigue. I was exhausted from my child not sleeping. Lack of concentration and slowness in activity. Those were the big ones, at least as far as work went. At home, I'm pretty much a sloth anyway, so it's kind of hard to tell there. But work, yeah, I let things go that shouldn't have. I let go. I wasn't on top of things like I should have been. Yeah, it definitely affected my work life. Weight, I'd say probably not. I have gained weight postpartum. I dropped all the baby weight, but since then it's come back, which is largely because I would sit on the couch and would breastfeed or hang out with my son. But I also didn't really get back into working out after I had him, like I was up until like I was 8 months old or something, or 8 months pregnant. So repeatedly going over thoughts. I'm kind of no, I don't think that hit me at all. So I would say my postpartum depression started around 3 or 4 months. I didn't notice it until about 8 months postpartum. Wine, because there's nothing better to do while talking about depression than drinking a glass of wine. My son recently stopped nursing completely. His choice. The final time was his choice. So I've been drinking some wine a few nights a week just to enjoy the fact that I can now. Because it's been taboo for 2 years. So, back to my depression. See, I didn't notice it until about 8 or 9 months. Here's the thing about apathy. I enjoyed not caring. I didn't care how things affected others as long as they didn't affect me. And I enjoyed living that life. I enjoyed not caring about how my actions would affect my husband, his grandparents that live with us, the family. I didn't care. I enjoyed not caring. That was the biggest part. I just enjoyed not caring. And that's a reason it took me so long, I think, to get into the doctor. Or it took me so long. Oh no, that's what took me so long to get into the doctor, because at that point was when I started going, do I have PPD? Is this something that's going on? So that's when I first started thinking about it, questioning it. But when I'd realize that I had PPD, I would basically pick myself up by my big girl panties and go on with life. I'd shove it in the corner for a while, a few days, and then it would slowly start creeping up on me. And then I wouldn't realize what was going on until I was at or had neared rock bottom again. It took a few cycles. I tried to pick myself back up, and then around 10 months is when I think I really realized that this is still going on. But somehow I must have heard it somewhere down the road, somewhere at some point. I thought that PPD, your hormones are rebalanced by the time your child was 1, and so I was like, he's turning 1 in a couple of months. Well, I probably want to see my doctor if it's just gonna go away here in a couple of months. Not a big deal. Like, no, like whatever. I'll just live with it until it goes away. And through that process, around that time, also my husband started going, dude, you are ruining your life. You're ruining this family. Basically, not handling things very well. Informing me that he has talked to the family about me, about everything that's going on, and they have no answers. Which probably pissed me off because he was talking to the family, primarily his mother and his sister, whom I'm relatively close with, about me. No one said anything for him, which, okay, fine, he's my husband. But they both work in the medical field. My sister-in-law has a daughter who is 3.5. I instantly went, well, if you think that there's something wrong with me, why isn't someone raising the PPD flag? Why isn't someone going, hey, maybe she has postpartum depression and maybe that's what's going on? No, nothing. So I got that pissed. I didn't care. Like, how dare he threw these ridiculous, things at me, blame everything on me, which wasn't entirely on me, but a good part of it was. And no one's trying to figure out how to fix me. No one cares enough to wonder what's wrong with me. They just know that something is wrong with me. So, it wasn't until just after my son turned 1, I had a employee eval, and that was when my boss and my boss's boss were in the meeting with me. We're a small office, so I still come in contact with my boss's boss, who is the president of the company. And they basically, he went to the president, went, what's going on? What's wrong? This isn't you. What is going on? And just someone genuinely caring what was wrong with me was the last straw. That was all I needed. Someone just sit and go, something is wrong. What is it? What can we do to help you? So after that meeting, I promptly called my doctor's office. I told them why, of course, I was getting an appointment. They always want to know. And because it's a large enough office that they've got a call center. And I told her, and she immediately passed me through to the nurses line for my doctor or the team of doctors on her side. I'm not quite sure. And because they can get you into appointments that the call center can't necessarily get you into, they basically treated it like an urgent care appointment, which I appreciate. I didn't need it, but I do know there are some moms that do. I called them probably about 1 o'clock, and they didn't have any availabilities the rest of the day, but they did have one first thing the next morning, I believe. It was the next day. I don't remember what time. So I went in and talked with her, filled out the eval, which I was, at that point, I was so down about everything that I had reached a point, just from all the anger that was aimed at me, that I had started to enter into hopeless territory. Not that I was necessarily hopeless, it was just the if I can't do anything right, why even bother mentality. And so that was like, yeah, I checked off that box. But they didn't have a box for apathy. They didn't really have, they had the typical symptoms, and that was it. And so I was like, I mean, I kind of have one or two of these, maybe. But so I sat down and I talked with her and cried. Remember that where I said I cry a lot over everything? And she sat down, and the big thing was she wanted to know if I was having any anxiety and any anger issues. At that point, I was still breastfeeding, which I already told her that was a big thing for me because I didn't want to. I knew that there were breastfeeding safe medications I could take, and I did not want to have to stop breastfeeding in order to take medication. So that was a big one for me, and because depending on if you experience anger issues, which mine weren't really lasting anger issues, they're really mostly just at the beginning, which could easily also be explained on lack of sleep. My son is not a good sleeper at all. He was his first couple of months, and that was it. But anger and anxiety, because depending on if you have those, what you have depends on what medication they can give you, because specifically the medication that she put me on, if you experience anger issues, or I think primarily anxiety, it will actually make the anxiety worse. So she has me on, see if you can actually read the dang thing. Oh, it's not gonna focus. Sorry. So it's the off-brand of Wellbutrin. It's bupropion hydrochloride. It's the extended release tablets for 150 milligrams. That's the typical dosage that they generally put people on. You start at 75 milligrams. So actually my first prescription wasn't this one. It was one that was the 75 milligrams, not extended release. She had me on that for a week, and then I bumped up to taking 75 twice a day, about 12 hours apart. And that way, and then we go from there. And we scheduled a follow-up appointment for 4 weeks. It ended up being 5 weeks down the road. And I could tell you within 2 weeks of being on it, I felt like a haze had lifted. It was like, that's how it felt. Coming out of it, I felt like I was living in this haze of apathy. And while I was talking to her, I think primarily since I'd been on that road for so long and had done so much damage while on that road, she also recommended seeing a therapist. I know in my area, at least, it's very hard to get in to see a doctor or a therapist or anything very quickly. We actually just had my company meeting a couple months ago, because it's now February, so it would have been the end of December. We had a insurance renewal meeting, and at that time there was only one clinic in our town, which was relatively small, that was still taking new patients for like a medical clinic. So she gave me this thick packet. I don't have it. Probably 5-6 pages long of therapists in the area, their name, their phone number, their address, and then a brief description on what it is they do. Because not all therapists do everything. Some focus specifically on depression issues, some focus more on just general family issues, which includes a lot of times depression. Some are Christian doctors or religious doctors and therapists and all of that stuff. And so she gave me the list, and at first I was like, why see a therapist? I don't understand it. And I think it was around 3 weeks of having been off the medication and being out of the haze for about a week. I was realizing what I had done, all the issues I had caused, and just that this wonderful little bottle was not going to fix all my problems. That life was going to take a lot more. And then it took me a few more days to understand. Part of it, to begin with, was I've been in therapy before. I'm not really going to get into it in this video, but at that point I had a very clear and concise, this is what I'm going to therapy for, this is what I'm going to accomplish, and I was able to accomplish that in just 4 weeks and weekly meetings. And I was like, well, what's the point of paying to go talk to someone if I don't know what my goal is? What's the end goal? I don't understand. And so, oh hey, I have homework. Sorry, my therapist gives me homework, which is a good thing. Therapists should give you homework. I do need to get that out of the car tomorrow. Crap, I have to do that today. I knew I needed to get in the car for something. Sorry, I live in the Pacific Northwest. In case you haven't been watching the national news or wherever you're located, we are in the middle of, or beginning of, Snowpocalypse 2019. AKA, we are bracing ourselves for more than half an inch of snow. Now, to those of you who live in a snowy climate, that sounds ridiculous. But please know, we literally only budget for one snowstorm. One snow day, essentially. 1 day of snow. That's it. 1 day. A year. So, we don't have many plows. We don't keep much, salt and sand in stock. And we have ice, obviously, but we just, here, especially in Western Oregon, we mostly just get ice overnight. And then during the day it warms up and we get rain. And then at night it freezes. And repeat. So, I had been wanting to go out to the car because of the snow. I need to do that. But no, snow again. We're expecting like 5 or 6 days of snow in a row, totaling in my area should be totaling 7 inches. But each day our high is supposed to still be over freezing. So how much we'll actually have on the ground at the end of this, I have no clue. But Snow Apocalypse 2019. So it took me a while to understand I'm gonna pull you guys up for here. I want to talk like this so you can hear me. That you don't necessarily need to have an end goal when you go to therapy. It can be open-ended. It could just be, I just want to move past this, because postpartum depression is, I believe, supposed to be temporary. So once I understood that concept, I was willing to start looking for a therapist. And I knew that I wanted to see a female therapist. Just felt more comfortable talking about a woman's issue with a woman doctor. So I went through the list and circled all the female doctors, and then went through all their bios and ranked them by preference, I guess, and started calling. I called one a day because I wanted to give them time to call me back. And I figure if you're not going to call me back within 24 hours or a work business day, then you clearly don't have time in your schedule. And then, so one of the doctors I called, she didn't have any availabilities until February, and this was like end of December. Maybe the very beginning of January, but it was like right around that time frame. If she had any availabilities, that was a big thing I was running into. Some of them, a lot of them weren't taking new patients, and if they were booked 2 months out. So one of them who did actually call me back, and it was like 6 or 7 o'clock at night, I was actually able to answer the phone. She called me back, and so I was actually able to talk to her, and I was like, okay, so you don't have any availabilities, that's fine, that's okay. Is there anyone that you can recommend? So, she gave me the name of her colleague, actually works right across the hall from her, and our number, and I called her next on my list, and she didn't have any availability until the end of February, so I was like, okay, well, let me try calling a couple more, and then I'll let you know if I don't hear or can't get in. So a few days went by, actually quite a few days went by, like not quite a week. I called 1 or 2 people. I ended up having some working lunches. They weren't working lunches, but I was eating lunch with other people. So I want to make phone calls on those lunches. So I called her back, and I was like, yeah, when can you see me? And she's like, well, actually, I had cancellations. I can see you the next day, I think it was. So I've been seeing her. She didn't have an appointment the following week, but I saw her 2 weeks after. And we have appointments for the month, or for like a month booked. And so far it's been really, really good. She is one of those therapists though that does require a goal, but she's going to help me work on figuring out what that goal is going to be, which is actually what my homework is. It's figuring out my core values and ranking them. And so we're going to use that to create my big goals. So that's where I'm at. I have to go because my son is trying to wake up. He's not been down very long. So if you enjoy my videos, hit the like button, subscribe, and I will see you next week.